what is the one piece of advice that you'd like to give to aspiring agency owners?
Have expectations, but don't be like overly obsessed with them as if life's falling apart if you don't achieve them.
You started with freelancing. Today you're an agency owner. How have things changed, Shreya?
So the major thing that happens when you go from freelancer to agency owner is that as a freelancer, you're mostly working in the business because you're just doing this small stuff. Let's say you're doing everything.
Yeah.
But when you are an agency owner, you're doing more of working on the business compared to in the business. The major thing that's happened for me is just a lot of I would say new realizations that I have to listen more as well. I have to be more of a leader, not tell people what to do. That never works. It's more like I can guide you.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the Dhairya Decodes YouTube channel. Today on the Dhairya Decodes podcast, we have somebody who I've been following for ages. In fact, I remember telling her this, that she was one of the first few people that I spotted on LinkedIn, and she did inspire me to probably write one of my first posts on LinkedIn. Her name is Shreya Pattar. She goes by the name of the LinkedIn girl, and I'm sure you would have seen her pop up on your LinkedIn feeds at some point of time. She is an agency owner based out of Dubai currently, originally from India. She's also a content creator who creates content on LinkedIn and Instagram. She's an educator who's been able to impact over 12,000 plus students in over 90 countries. And today we're going to dive deep into her journey of how she's built this massive agency for herself where she works with great clients all across the globe, how she chose this unconventional career path, and what does it really take to be able to do something similar to her. So do stick around till the very end, and I cannot wait to get into the conversation with Shreya. Hi Shreya, and welcome to the Dhairya Decodes podcast.
Thank you, Dhairya. That was such a nice introduction. Thank you so much.
I hope I did justice to all your accolades and achievements.
Your energy did. So thank you.
I'm glad. You know what, Shreya? I've very recently realized that a lot of times, like when I go to these events or if I'm talking to people or when I just introduced you, most of the times when somebody asks you who you are and introduce yourself, there are tags and there are things that we have done and things we associate ourselves with, which we always use. And I do that very, very naturally as a second behavior as well. That, I'm a career coach, I'm this, I'm that. If I was to ask you to introduce Shreya beyond the tags, remove everything that I said right now, and just tell me who Shreya as a person is, how would you introduce yourself?
I was thinking about this recently, so I'm like, okay, let's go. So This is it. This is all I have to say. That hi, I'm Shreya Pattar, and what I do is I try, and that's it. So that's it.
Amazing.
Like doing different things. That's all.
That's amazing. When I ask this question to a lot of people, it's so interesting to know that we are way beyond, everything else that we have kind of created a clout around in a way, because I think it does get to you a lot of times when there are so many things you're associated with and your name is kind of aligned with. But at, I think, the most inner core level, like you said, you're just somebody who's trying her best every single day. But with that, since I did mention this in the intro as well, I spotted one of your posts on LinkedIn, the one with Jeff Weiner, if I'm not wrong. That was one of the first few posts I saw. Then I kept scrolling and I checked your feed, and that's how I had discovered you. And I realized that obviously you started your journey as a freelance content writer to now building your own agency. I want to start with asking you that as a child, when you thought of the various options and when people ask you, hey, what do you want to become when you grow up?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure even today, probably people don't think that I want to grow up and become like an agency owner. It's such a new age career, right? So did you know this back then? And if not, how did this entire process evolve? And how did you even understand there was this entire world of freelancing and there was a world of people who were working with different clients, helping them increase the ROI for their businesses?
So, I've been writing since I was really young, and I had an interest in this. I never thought that this would be a full-time career, mainly because my idea was I don't want to write fiction. I don't want to write books. I don't want to be an author, but I love writing. And when I was young, social media, personal branding, content creation wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah.
So I was not sure how that could be a career. And the other thing I knew for sure is that I always want to do my own thing. Like I would really like to have my own setup, my own business, my own employees. Like this was my idea since I was really young. Somewhere along the way it changed. I wanted to be a doctor. That was my next
So did
thing.
I, by the way.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. So I really
Yeah.
wanted to be a doctor. And this was again a personal choice. It was my decision. Prepared for like some medical entrance exams, etc. And I realized during those 2 years of like 11th and 12th that we call,
Right.
I realized that this is not what I would be the best at. I would do okay. I would, end up being a doctor. Like they say, once you get into medical school, you come out a doctor. I would be a doctor. I think I would be a pretty decent doctor
Decent
as well.
doctor.
But I wouldn't be the best at it. And I decided that the only thing I really, really care about is writing. And this is what I want to do. I still didn't know how to make it a career. I still didn't know how to do this as like a full-time thing as something that I can, I'm a writer. How do I say that?
Correct.
I moved for university. I moved to Dublin. And the post you saw about me meeting Jeff was actually the first post I ever put on LinkedIn.
Really?
Yeah. And 1.5 million people saw that post.
Yeah, I think
And-
that's. I saw you. So I've been following you from your first post, is what that means.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you've been
Perfect.
following me from day one.
Yeah.
So that's like over 5 years. So that's a long time.
Yeah.
And because of that post, a lot of people said that, Shreya, you write so well. Can you write for us? And I just started saying, yes, of course. And then I started writing for people. So before this, I had done a couple of internships. I had some experience with what writing for companies or brands is, not really for individuals.
Got it.
But when people started reaching out to me directly on LinkedIn and just only based off of Shreya, I like how you've written. Can you write for me? And I was like, yes. And that's how it started. So I wasn't really even then aware of what freelancing really means. I wasn't even for the longest time aware of copywriting.
Okay.
I remember that when I was in my internship is when I had first heard of the word copywriting. And then I thought like in a very typical way that either you copy what's given and you like write it down
Write
or
it.
something.
Yeah.
Or I thought it has to do with copywriting, like copywriting, patenting, that kind of legal stuff.
Legal stuff.
So because of that internship, I was exposed to what is copy and what is copywriting. And I used to sit and read a lot of newsletters about, there was this one copywriter that was super prominent. His name is Tej Dosa.
Okay.
And even now on Twitter, he has this big copywriting academy, etc. And he was the first person, I just found his newsletters and I started reading them because they were all on his website. And again, I couldn't believe it because this person was talking about like making $100,000 and working with such clients and working from home and doing your own thing. And I'm like, how are people doing
you
this?
do it? Yeah.
And it's funny because I didn't register any of this information. I was just reading. And I didn't think of anything like I can do this, how to do this, nothing. I was just reading and I was fascinated. And like 1-2 years later when this post went viral, when people reached out, I just got into it because I just said, yes, I can write for you. And that's it. And I figured it out along the way. And then like, I think a year or two later, I came across Tej's post again or something. And I was like, wow, this is what I had read first. Now I do this. I had
Correct.
no idea how I did it
Yeah.
or I had no idea how to do it, but I did it. And it's a very similar like thing that he was talking about a few years back. So yeah, I just kind of got into it basically.
Very organic. I think
Yeah.
probably what I understand from what you shared is because of the fact that you were just very clear, super clear with the fact that you like writing a lot, it comes to you naturally.
Yeah.
And like you said, you may not be the best at something else that you were planning to pursue, but probably you had this conviction inside, I feel so deep down, that I could be really good at this.
Yes.
So you probably went all in for it while you didn't have like a proper roadmap of sorts of what you'll do next. But something interesting that I picked from what you said, you did mention that somebody just people started asking me, you write so well, can you write for us as well? A lot of times what happens is, so I think there are two kinds of skill sets or whatever. One is things that you think you're good at. One is things that you are good at and you'd be ready to monetize them, right?
Right.
Because, for example, in my case, I'm a trained Kathak dancer. I love to dance. But I've chosen not to monetize that aspect of things because I am good at it, right? So to say.
Yeah.
Now, likewise, I mean, you could be good at yoga as well, but you chose to not pursue it professionally, but pursue writing professionally.
Right.
How does one make that decision when they've understood, yes, I am good at something because you enjoy it and other people have also started seeing the value in it?
Yeah.
But then comes the third step. Do I want to monetize this and put the pressure of money on it? Or
Right.
do I want to just pursue it as a whatever passion project or something that I hold deep to my heart? So, how does one make that choice early on?
I think that's a good question. And in some ways, because the thing is, when you're trying to monetize something, it's becoming work.
Correct.
And you are involving a lot of people into it. You are also, like, if you think about freelancing, for example, I like writing, but if I don't give the space to my client to give feedback, if I'm not accepting of that, then I won't be a good freelancer. I could
Yeah.
still be a good writer, but I'm not a good freelancer, right? So there are a lot of adjustments that have to be made, even if you really like doing something. And no matter how good you're at it, there are a lot of adjustments that have to be made when you are monetizing it. So
Right.
one is like, don't if you won't take offense over feedback, if you're welcoming to feedback, then yes, it's a skill you can monetize. If it's something that really adds value to people and they want that value, that's a skill you can monetize. And
Yeah.
if it's something that has leverage
Correct.
on the in the most like if you see about building a business, it's mostly not about, okay, how many clients can I work with now? It's not that. It's about what am I building for the long term, something that will sustain me, something that I may or may not enjoy, but something that if I do this right, it will give me time, space, energy, resources to enjoy the other things that
Correct.
I really, really want to do.
Right.
So also it's that people think that, okay, maybe because they have a certification in something, that they're the best at it.
Right.
No,
You're not.
you can be a really graceful dancer, but maybe you don't enjoy teaching it.
Yeah.
So then that's not something you would monetize.
Exactly.
Maybe you're a really good dancer, you're trained, etc., but you're just not willing to sit with 10 people and tell them what to do. You enjoy it for yourself. You
Right.
want to keep it to yourself. It's not something to monetize then. I think also one more important thing about when it comes to monetization is that overall what has more scale, because it's not just, see, if you're a trained Kathak dancer and you become a Kathak teacher, the entire business revolves around you.
Correct.
You can still have, of course, I mean, there are many, what do you say, like experts who have their own academies,
yeah.
etc.
Correct.
But starting something like that up is completely different again, because how much of it can be done online, right? So that's your limitation again.
Right.
So there's a lot of different factors to consider. A lot of, like, when you're thinking of an online businesses are low, like, it's easy to start them.
Start them. Yeah, the
You
investment
don't need,
needed to kickstart
yeah,
is...
you need practically no extra investment. You probably have your phone, your laptop, you have YouTube, you might invest in some courses.
Yeah.
You will mostly invest in time.
Right.
So even how easy is it to monetize that also makes a lot of difference. So that's something to consider.
Good. No, I think that does make a lot of sense. And I'm so glad that you answered it, actually keeping in mind all the three things and probably three factors that you should keep in mind, and makes a lot of sense, right? Because the reason why I asked you this is, as a career coach, most of the students who come and, seek mentorship, or I meet them as colleges or who will be viewing this video, there comes a point in everybody's life, like you said, wherein you have choices to be made and you have like 2 to 3 things. Okay, I'm good at ABC. Which one do I pick, right? That becomes very difficult. And I'm sure this will help them kind of navigate and make the right choice. But with that, coming back to your choice of choosing to do a degree of Bachelor's of Arts in, I think, English Literature and Philosophy, if I'm not
Yes.
wrong, right? And you did it from Trinity College, Dublin.
Yes.
Now, I want to understand that when you chose to do that degree and pursue it specifically from that particular college, again, was it a decision that was thought through, and was it aligned with what you were set out to do in the future? Because while it's not directly linked, but I'm sure doing a degree in English Literature and Philosophy would have had some impact in your writing career, if not a lot. So I want to understand, what role did those 3 years in Dublin at that college have in your career, and how has it shaped where you are today?
I think it had a lot of impact. The reason I chose this degree was only because I loved writing, and I thought, of course, if you want to write, you want to do literature, and
Right.
that was the only logic I had. And the reason I picked philosophy was because my university offered me an option to also pick another subject, and philosophy just seemed the most interesting of the list. So
Yeah.
that's it. That was my decision making, really, you know.
Okay.
So I just wanted to like kind of bring out that a lot of decisions you think are deeply thought out, and maybe Shreya had a strategy. No, she just did something and just
Things
saw,
just
like
turned out.
she just wanted to see, like, okay, I made a decision, now we will see what happens, you know. And for a lot of things, actually, that's how it goes, because either way, you don't know how a decision will turn out.
True.
But for me, I think my university was the best part. It wasn't even my degree, but it was the university, having that exposure, living abroad by myself. And I moved at a pretty young age,
Yeah.
because I moved for my undergrad, and just living in a new environment. And there's so many different things, right? Because when you're moving abroad and when you're moving for university, life's different.
Yeah.
You're independent, and you don't have like a maid or a cook or anything. You are the one
All
doing
by yourself.
everything. You don't have your mom to take care of you when you're sick. You don't have your dad to like drive you to places wherever you need to be. You have to do like 100% of things yourself.
Yeah.
That was a very like major experience for me, because it taught me a lot of responsibility, and it taught me that if I'm not being responsible, then everything's just my mistake. Like, it's only going to pile up on me. And I think that translated a lot into all the work I was doing, into like freelancing. And because of this, I was like managing my own bills, right? I was paying for my own stuff. I had my own card, my own cash. And I'm like, now I understand how money works, how much
Right.
things cost, and all of this. I'm thinking of money in positive ways, in like actually thinking about it and not just using it. And all these small things like really impacted my entire career, because then I knew like how much things cost, and then I know, okay, how do I negotiate, how do I price things, how much, like, what do you say, like the whole experience of talking to people, conversing with them, I got much better at it. And one thing I actually really got good at was saying no. Because when you're in college, a lot of people will keep like asking you, okay, let's go out for this party, this event, that event, all of that. And I started saying no,
Okay.
which was very difficult for a long time, because then people stopped inviting me for
Yeah,
things. So
right.
this became like, for a few months, it really affected me. But after that, I got okay with it, and I realized that it's nobody's fault. It is just how it is. And that also helped me a lot, because then I started accepting that this is the life I chose, and it comes with certain compromises or
And trade-offs,
differences
yeah.
and trade-offs. Yeah.
Correct.
And so yeah, I think those were the major learnings. It was more about how I approach this going forward. And then once I moved to Dubai, which was 3 years like after my university, I had these things in place. Like, I knew what to expect in terms of, it'll take time to make friends. It'll take time to like feel settled in. It won't happen now. It'll take time to figure things out. And I just was more patient, more accepting, more just calm. And yeah, and I could enjoy the process more. So I think I learned a lot from just being in Dublin.
That's amazing. No, I think, like you just mentioned, it's. I think it just turns you into a more accountable person, and then that accountability reflects in your professional work as well. Like you said, as a freelancer, because, like you said, you're just all by yourself, and
Yeah.
there's nobody you can lean back on and say, "Hey, can you please get this done for me?" Right? And while I haven't experienced that in a foreign country, I've done that in India myself. And I know that when you're away from your parents, it's a different experience altogether, because suddenly you feel like you're an adult and everything's to be taken care of. And then, like you said, the understanding of money, I think, and dealing with money the right way, and probably also utilizing it the right way, comes in very early in such cases and scenarios.
Yeah.
Talking about the freelancing bit, Shreya, when you just started off, right, and you started writing for a couple of clients, etc., in the beginning, I'm asking this question from a perspective of somebody who probably may want to just start off, right, with their
Yeah.
writing career right now. Now, considering the kind of environment we are in right now, people are talking about jobs just going out of hand at like MNCs, and software engineers becoming jobless. And then they talk about content writing being done by these tools, AI tools and stuff like that, right? And everybody has their own opinion, and there's an entire buzz around it, and it's been all over the place. My question to you is that, firstly, I want to understand that if somebody wants to become a content writer in 2024, what does it really take to get there? What skill set do you need to have that's going to help you stand out irrespective of whatever's going on, what AI
Yeah.
revolution comes in or what tool comes in? And once you have that skill set, any recommendations on how they should get started with looking for their first clients, considering where we are at right now?
Right. In terms of skill sets, I think one is how do you leverage all these new technologies that are coming up, right?
Okay.
So your AI, your ChatGPT, or any other similar AIs that are coming up, how do you use that to improve your work or to shorten the time that you take to complete your work, etc. So how do you leverage that basically?
Yeah.
That's an important skill to learn because then you're not running away from it. Then as soon as something comes up, you're curious and you're excited that this is going to help you out in a positive way. So that's the first skill to learn as such. And the second skill is you have to learn how to position yourself. I think positioning is so important.
Yeah.
Where how do you present yourself, right? And I mean it in terms of like your offer, your service, the skill set you're offering, etc. But also in terms of just your presence, right? In terms of the content you create, the way you talk, the language you use, the kind of vibe or energy, let's say, you put forth. When you meet someone in real life, what kind of energy do you exude, etc. All these things are so impactful, especially because now everything is still online, but we are also getting more of the offline world as
Correct.
well.
Yeah.
There are more opportunities that are coming, like people are traveling more, people are able to connect in offline scenarios. And I think this whole impact that you put forth and create in people's lives when you meet them is also a great skill to have. So your entire positioning, be it online or offline, and plus how you're able to leverage AI, both these things are important. And if you want to find your first client, like in let's say the next 1 month,
Yeah.
I would say there are two approaches you need to take. First is you need to start building your portfolio. So
Right.
create a mock portfolio, put some work together, have proof of work. Like nobody's going to work. I mean, I know I said that somebody saw my post and said, Shreya, you write so well. Can you write for us? But that's not the norm.
Norm, yeah.
That's not how it works.
Works for everybody,
Right?
yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to build a portfolio, first thing, and you have to have proof of work that you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
And the second thing you want to do is reach out to people. Like don't wait for opportunities to come to you, because that is, in many cases, you're delaying the process. So take control, and the thing you have control over is reaching out to people. So reach out to people and pitch your services. Like I said, positioning is important. So use that, make the most of that, and pitch your services, get people on a call. But control your lead generation by doing outreach. And I would say reach out to at least 10 to 15 people every single day
Okay.
for a month. That's like 300 to 450 people.
yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you should close at least one client from that. So,
Definitely, yeah. I'm sure. Since you're talking about outreach and you mentioned that they should start with obviously having a great portfolio for themselves, for starters.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about, having a great portfolio as a writer, and when you are in a creative field, I think having a portfolio is essential. But a lot of times, because again, there is so much of competition and there's so many people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
When you're building a portfolio, again, having a portfolio is one thing. Having a portfolio that kind of cuts through the clutter is a different thing. What does it really take for a writer to have a great portfolio that stands out, right? Because meeting somebody in person will have a different impact, but to reach
Yeah.
to that stage, you have to first have a portfolio that speaks enough for your work. So how can somebody create a great portfolio? According to you, if you were to hire a writer, let's say,
Yeah.
at your agency, what would you look for in their portfolio?
So a great portfolio is a relevant portfolio. That's it. So if I'm looking for a writer for a particular thing,
Yeah.
then I want to see your work for that particular thing. That's it. I don't want to see everything. I don't want to see, okay, Shreya, I haven't written for this, but here's some other copy I've written. Okay, I've not written for LinkedIn, but here's all these Instagram captions. No, I mean, instead you can write me 1 or 2 mock samples of LinkedIn copy and send that to me. Like, Shreya, I've created this. It's a mock sample, but I've created this for you. It has to be relevant. So first, obviously, to what I'm looking for. And I don't want to see like 100 different things. I want to see your top 3 best work. Because whenever we are deciding to hire, the shortlisting process is very fast. There are, because it's difficult to eliminate, it's easy to eliminate people because most people make so many simple
Basic mistakes, yeah.
mistakes, or they lack certain very common things that are basically non-negotiables.
Right.
So one of this is if we ask you for your portfolio, and we in our form, it's very clear that send us your one best piece of work. That's what we say. If someone says, oh, I couldn't pick, or I don't know what you're looking for, so here's the whole thing. No, you're out. I really don't care how good your work is, you're out, because the instruction was very simple.
Yeah.
That's give me your best piece of work, the one that you are most proud of, not
Correct.
it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So these things are important. Relevant portfolio, a non-overwhelming portfolio, and having something that has good layout. Basically, when I'm looking at your portfolio, it should be easy to see.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be like made on Canva, or it doesn't have to be a full thing. It can be a simple Google Doc, but how it's aligned, how it's presented makes a lot of difference. And it has to be easy on the eyes. Basically.
Yeah, you should be able to skim through it.
You should be able to skim through it.
Yeah.
And you should be able to like just have a flow to it, basically. So this is important.
Perfect. No, I think that that's super helpful. And would you also recommend, I don't know, maybe specific resources or anything that you have personally that you used early on to build your portfolio? Do you think there are any resources that people can kind of utilize to build their portfolios today?
You don't need anything. You need like a Google Doc
Yeah.
or a Drive. Like if you are into media stuff, like you're into videos or images or design,
Yeah.
then you need a Google Drive.
Right.
If you're into writing, then you can either use something like Notion or a Google Doc.
Right.
And if you want to go a bit fancy, you can use a free tool like Canva and
Correct.
set everything up there.
Yeah.
And if you want to be super fancy, what you can do is, and also super impactful, by the way, is you can shoot a small Loom video or
Yeah.
a Zoom clip, and you can share that where you're explaining your portfolio. But make sure whatever you're giving to skim through, the video is an additional thing. Whatever you're giving to skim through has to still be on point, because that's the easiest piece of portfolio for your client to consume.
Right.
So make it relevant.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think thanks for sharing that. With that, Shreya, I think I want to move on to asking you something. Again, I mean, it may be a question that you may have answered 100 gazillion times. I don't know. But I think this is very important for a lot of people to know because, again, we're shooting this podcast in a very different time now. Things have changed drastically. And I also feel that as a country, especially India, today, we have become more aspirational than we were before. That's just my generic opinion. I feel a lot of times, I think earlier, most people had limited beliefs and they were not happy or open with talking about the kind of money they are making as openly as they are today, or talking about the fact that you can make money through different avenues. Today, people look at freelancing and, having your own agency as something that's viable, as a viable career option, right?
Right.
That's taken time again to evolve. Now, when somebody is going out there and telling their parents, hey, I really like doing this, I love writing, I want to pursue content writing or let's say copywriting and do something of my own. And you are sitting down to, let's not say convince them, but at least tell them that this is where my head is at and I want to do this. I'm sure that the first question that any parent would like to, ask their kids at least is that, okay, how much money do you think in this career probably make you, or how sustainable is it, right? So according to you, in 2024, if somebody is to take this up as a full-time profession, right? What kind of money should they expect to make at the beginning? And obviously, how far can the trajectory go up to when you're at a stage, let's say, as yours, when somebody is an agency owner, so that they understand what the length and breadth of this career can really look like?
Right. I really cannot answer this with a number.
I know.
It's not possible at all.
Yeah.
Because this is not a career where time even matters,
Right.
It doesn't matter. You could start something and within 6 months, you could have a business that's at like 10 lakhs a month. Within a year, you could have a business that's at 50 lakhs a month.
Yeah.
Or you could be doing this for 10 years and still you could be at, I'm not saying it's bad, but like maybe 10 lakhs a month, and that's sustaining. That's your cap that you've
that's your
hit.
cap. Huh.
And it's not time dependent at all. You cannot say when you will make your most money, when you will stop making money, or when it'll like kind of flatline, when it'll dip. You don't know. And there's also nothing like, oh, I have to have certain number of experience or certain number of years of experience to be able to do this. No, you can
Okay.
start off, and literally in the first month, people have made like 1 or 2 lakhs, and they've messaged me because they read my ebooks, they applied it, and they're like, Shreya, in the first month, like, I can't believe it, but I made like 50,000 rupees. In the first month, I made 1 lakh.
Yeah.
Are they making that again? How much are they making now, etc.? Completely different thing. And there are so many different things involved, right? Because you can't control it. It depends on your skill set, your luck in so many ways. It
Yeah.
depends on the opportunities you bring forth for yourself. It depends on your environment, what you're exposing yourself to, how you're showing up. So there's so many different things. I would say, like, even if your parents, like, even if a parent asks, okay, how much money do you think you can make? The answer is not, oh, she said she makes 5 lakhs, so I think I can no. Your answer is, mom, dad, right now, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But I'm seeing that people are able to do well.
Correct.
I'm seeing that people are able to get results. What I want to do now is I want to try. I want to see what I can do. So you're not telling them that, look, I will make this much. You don't know. And that's the truth. And they will actually prefer that you tell them the truth and you tell them that, look, you need some time, you need some space, you want to try and you
Right.
want to learn and you want to explore. That is something that they cannot really dispute. Like, that's something logically you cannot
cannot
argue
argue
over.
on, yeah.
They can deny, that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But they cannot logically say, no, this is not realistic, right?
Makes sense.
So, yes, so like, don't set certain expectations. Expectations are also limitations, to be honest. Like, if you
Yeah.
think, oh, I would like to make 1 lakh this month, maybe you could have
You
done
could have done,
something
yeah,
more.
more.
Maybe you could have done something different.
True.
So, yeah, like, don't have numerical expectations. And even when you're talking to your parents or your family about it, just be honest that you don't know. And it's okay to not know.
No, that's very well put. And I think, but do you also feel that the niche that you pick as a writer
Yeah.
has some kind of an impact, if not on the kind of money you make, but also on the kind of opportunities and again, the breadth of the opportunities do you get? Is it limited
Right.
by that?
See, one thing that's the truth is that in any industry you pick, there is one leader.
Yeah.
So there is one person who's doing really well.
True.
And there are a couple more people who are doing really well. So it's
Right.
not like one niche is doomed or something. That's not true. The only thing is, what are you like? What does growing in that niche look like? For example, a lot of freelancers actually write SOPs, statement of purposes,
Yeah.
statements of purpose for their students.
Yeah.
Now, if you're writing for students, how much do you think they can pay for an SOP? There will be a cap. Like,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
let's say I'm saying, okay, they'll pay 10,000 rupees, for example. That's high end, by the way.
Correct.
If let's say they're willing to pay that much, that's the cap. You cannot make this from 10,000 to 50,000. There is no scaling it.
Yeah,
Right? Because
yeah.
that's the kind of audience you're working with. But you can scale it by volume. If you are going to hire a couple more people, maybe you, instead of writing for like 5 students by yourself, if this picks up, you can write for 100 students. And when you're doing 10,000 rupees for 100 students, that's 10 lakhs.
Right.
Now, this is a high revenue. This means more people in the team, more costs, of course, more lead generation.
Yeah.
And again, 10,000, I'm saying it's high end.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
is
not
not
easy to
easy.
get 100 people.
Yeah.
Also, there's no recurring business from
business,
this.
yeah.
It's one thing, one SOP, and that's done. Maybe they will say, oh, I really like it. I'm going to refer you to my friends. I'm going to refer you to my siblings,
It's very seasonal,
cousins.
right? But though
Seasonal
also.
but it's not something recurring.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a one-off thing.
One-off.
And once the customer is gone. Like, there's nothing else, unless you add another service, you can't do this for them again. So this is what this is what you have to think about when you're thinking about, okay, how sustainable or how scalable is a business? And you want to approach things as a business. That's the best way to see it. Not as how to make money now, but as how can I make sure that this is something I'm building that will sustain and that I can do something with for the long term.
Right.
And I don't mean forever. I mean, like, 2 to 5 years is pretty long term when you're thinking of an online business. 5 to 10 years, because you will keep evolving. You will
Correct.
change
Yeah.
what you're creating, the way you're working, the people you're working with in terms of your team and your clients. What's important to you. Everything is going to change because this is the nature of online businesses.
It is.
But yes, whenever you're thinking of who you want to cater to, there's no one niche which I will tell you, if you do this, you'll be successful. That's not how it works. it's what are you able to make successful in your eyes? What is success to you, first of all, of course? And second, what are you willing to give? Like I said, 100 students that you write SOPs for, you could make 10 lakhs. But that 10 lakh, again, you have a lot of costs to incur, and you have 100 people you're looking for.
Yeah.
So those are some things to consider, and then maybe you can of course always change as well. So you can change. This is also the flexibility of an online business.
Yeah.
So start with something and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it as well, and a unique approach again. I think because it's also a lot about scale, like you said, because beyond a point there'll always be a cap, and depending on the audience you're targeting and also the kind of writing you're doing, a lot of things will change, right? But that also brings me to something interesting that I was going to ask you, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. As somebody who runs their own online business, I think the ultimate goal is to have steady income in a way which is sustainable, if not steady. Now, when we talk about recurring revenue and we talk about MRR, right? If it's recurring on a monthly basis, I think that's the most ideal scenario somebody would want to create. But again, for that, your offerings, your secondary services, the way you package them, and what you have to offer as a skill set should also align, right? Now, I feel that once people start, like you said, it's easy to make probably that 50,000 once, twice, 3 times for the first 5 months. But how do you push that through to a longer period, right? You have to have other offerings and a better offer and a package deal in a way. So how does one identify that, okay, if let's say I can write travel blogs, for example, and I'm good at it, and you've identified that, you've done it for a lot of brands and individuals, let's say, and you're probably making 50,000 to a lakh in a month on an average for the past 6 months.
Right.
But now you aspire to, let's say, make 2 lakhs a month. What more could somebody do then as an add-on or an additional service so that their MRR could go up?
So an MRR, if you're talking in terms of like your retainer
Yeah.
per client,
Per client.
it's about thinking about complementary services. That's one thing. So when I say complementary, I don't mean free. I mean something that's complementing it well, right?
Yeah.
So
Thanks for specifying that.
yes, it's not free. I'm not saying work for free.
yeah.
I'm saying something that complements what you're offering. So
Yeah.
if you're a travel blog writer, is there a way that you can maybe, let's say, tie up with a photographer and get like proper exclusive photographs of a certain location, of a certain, like if you're writing for hotels, for example, that's your goal, like you're helping hotels promote themselves. Can you like work with a good photographer or videographer who can like create a nice trailer of the hotel or something like that? If you're talking about distribution, that's super important. So can you maybe work with someone who's into PR who can get this article published instead of 5 that this hotel is doing? Instead of 5, they'll get it published in 10 different places. So this is something you can charge extra for.
Right.
How can you enhance the experience? Maybe you have different ideas on how to club different things on your websites. Maybe you have different CTA ideas. Maybe you can do some sort of like a revenue share. If it's a hotel, for example, when you're working like travel agents, they get paid around 5 to 15% for a booking that they can help make. So why don't you add something like that, where you are making sure that all your content is high quality, it's catered towards sales, and so you also have commission on any clicks, on any sales made through clicks through that particular blog. So I don't even know this industry, and I'm telling you of all these different ways because it's very primary that you want to find something that's more value. I don't have to know the industry to say, okay, what could be more value? And I could be wrong about all these things. Whatever I said, they may not be things that hotels are looking for. So of course, it's your job to find out what they're looking for. But the point is that you have to add extra value. That could mean teaming up with someone else. That could mean you learning a new skill. That could mean hiring more people, or that could mean just doubling down on this. So if you're writing like 5 articles a month, you can talk to some hotels and see, look, 5 articles are getting so many impressions and views and clicks, and SEO is helping and all of this. If we do 3 more every month, this is the impact that we can generate. So you see also I'm going away from, how many articles have you submitted, to the impact.
Correct.
So writers have to also think about not just, okay, I have to write an article and I have to give it. It's more like, what's the outcome of that article? Are you keeping up with that?
Right.
How is it performing by SEO? What's the real value you're creating in the business? All these things matter. And that's when your perceived value goes up.
Correct.
Right? again, it's a positioning. How do
It's
you
about your
position
position.
yourself
Yeah.
that you can increase this perceived value?
No, I think again very well kind of answered, because like you said, you probably don't even know a lot about the industry, but I think everything that you said made sense to me, at least, because I'm thinking of it from the perspective of the hotel owner or somebody who is sitting at that end, and what kind of an outcome or end goal would they like to reach. And like you said, if you're able to help them get there quicker, your perceived value increases, and then your value
Yeah.
proposition is right there. So um, I think it's very important again for people to understand in this industry, not just writing. I feel when you are by yourself and you're freelancing or you have your own online business, ultimately, I also feel that just probably having that one core skill is important. But like you said, having those complementary skills which are not free,
Yeah.
but just go hand in hand, is extremely important, because it just automatically just packages things so well, right? And then people also look at it in this way, that instead of going to 10 different people, I'm able to find everything in this one person, probably have a long term deal or a contract with them, and it's sorted for them as well. So I think while it may not be possible for people to do it right away when they're starting their career, do you think probably 5 6 months down the line, when they have enough work also to show, and they worked on just understanding how they have to deal with people better as well, it can come to a stage where they can start offering these complementary skills.
Yes, and I think it's a natural thing, because as in how you speak to people, you find out new pain points, you
Yeah.
find out new goals, and you're like, wait, I know how to do this, and this is exciting to me. I think this is also so important, that sometimes you are just excited more by different ideas that your clients are sharing, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, this is something I want to do more of, and that's how your service expands or even changes, transforms, and your perceived value not only goes up, but it also transforms in
Yeah.
many ways,
Yeah.
right? So it has a lot to do with how many conversations you're having, and how many in-depth conversations you're having, not just like use your sales calls for this stuff, like use your sales calls to ask questions, to understand what people need, and then all these ideas will come to you. You won't have to sit and think, okay, how do I make my offer more, like how do I double my price? No, you will realize that, okay, this person said this, I think I can do this, or I can partner up with someone who does, and this is how I can just charge more.
Correct.
And that's how it rolls, basically.
Yeah. No, perfect. I think with that, I want to move on to asking you, something on the lines of how your, journey has been. You started with freelancing. Today, you're an agency owner. How have things changed, Shreya? So, typically, if you look at it fundamentally, it's still writing, right? It is writing at the core of it. You're still
Yeah.
serving your clients with content pieces in different ways, obviously helping them scale their revenue, get better results, and a lot of things.
Yeah.
But has the way you work changed? What has primarily changed from going from a freelancer to an agency owner, and for someone to walk that same path and follow that trajectory? What does it really take to transition?
So when you're working with any business, like you're running a business, there's two ways you're working. So you're working on a business and you're working in a business. So when you're working on the business, it's your entire strategy. It's your way, okay, where is it headed? What do I have to do next to build this thing
Yeah.
on the outside, like grow it? And the other is when you're working in your business, and that entire aspect is about like your team, and it's your service fulfillment, and it's your, okay, how do I fix the inside of this whole thing that I've built, right? So the major thing that happens when you go from freelancer to agency owner is that as a freelancer, you're mostly working in the business,
Right.
because you're just doing this small stuff. Let's say you're doing everything.
Yeah.
But when you are an agency owner, you're doing more of working on the business compared to in the business. I don't think it changes. Like, I don't think you get rid of this part at all. You cannot stop doing that.
Yeah.
But you start prioritizing more. Okay, what's next? How do I grow it? Like the team. How do I build it out? How do I train people? How do I find the right hires? How do I scale in terms of leads? And when you're working in the business, it's again your team culture, managing your team, communication, making sure the work is done right, keeping up the team morale, client communication, client engagement, etc. All those different things. And I think also when you go from this freelancer to agency owner thing, the major thing that's happened for me is just a lot of like I would say new realizations that I have to listen more as well. I have to be more of a leader, not tell people what to do. That never works. It's more like I can guide you and I will tell you what needs to be done, but how you do it, the way you do it, it's all yours. Like it's your space, right?
Right.
So having this creative freedom, giving this creative liberty, etc., is important. Trust. You have to trust people because otherwise you're just delegating. I don't want to delegate tasks. That was the major, I think, mistake also I was making or not mistake. It was like the growth journey of my agency. So first I used to only hire people and delegate some tasks. Now essentially a lot of things, most of the things run without me.
Yeah.
I am more of into like crisis management. I'm more of into, okay, this can be done better this way.
Yeah.
Right. But now things are in place where I'm able to travel all day and shoot these podcasts, and I'm able to do this without stressing
Yeah.
what am I going to see on my phone next, right? So this is what I mean, like working on the business, like doing this kind of stuff, doing different things, what's next, while this is like the team and the clients and services, etc. I'm still working on that, but there's more people involved to help
Correct.
me out now.
Right. And I think whatever you said kind of summed down to one thing, that delegation is key, right? Because as you scale and as you transition, there's only so much that you can take care of. And while you said you can't get rid of it, and I'm sure you still go through, let's say, the final piece of work that's going out to a client and making sure that everything is in place, right? How important do you think it is to have the right team in place? Because I feel the biggest of the biggest businesses,
Yeah.
to people like me who have an online business, hiring is a struggle, right? And it's not about, I don't know the word right talent. Me again, it's so, you can perceive it in so many ways. It's not about right talent. It's more about having people that align with where you are going. And again, you can't enforce your vision on somebody.
Right.
People have to just kind of gel along and feel like they belong where you're going. And
Right.
how do you make sure that that culture is kind of built within the team, at least specifically at your agency, and everybody is, let's say, feeling respected enough in a sense that they're getting their due and are also enjoying the process, because that's a struggle
Right.
for a lot of people.
One thing that almost everyone on my team has said at different points is like, Shreya, you're so inspiring. Like I really like working with you.
Yeah.
I've looked forward to this. I'm learning so much from you. And I think that is great for me because I can see that pushes people, right? Because the people you work with are really impactful. And I also have a lot of people who are extremely hardworking.
Yeah.
So when I'm slacking off and I see, okay, things are still moving, I'm like, okay, I want to get them more clients because I want them to work with more people. I want them to work with people across different niches. I want them to, and they're always upskilling. That's also something I really like about my team.
Okay.
Whatever's trending, whatever's new, they know it. Like before I can ask, they know it. And this is so helpful. And I'm like, okay, now I want to bring on something new for you so that you can use this and you can make the most of it. So I think that's like, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
In terms of vision. I think the whole vision thing is a bit dicey because I cannot expect anyone to really be on board with my vision because essentially it's mine and everyone has their own vision. It's easy to say that, oh, you're a business owner, so everyone should no, but everyone has their own vision. And I think that's why I do ask them, like whenever I'm hiring and also regularly, like, okay, what's next? What is your goal? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? It could be financially, it could be like positions in your career. It could be something else you want to try. It could be whatever. It could be your personal side of things, whatever it is, like what's next. And that's also interesting for me to just be aware of and then see what I can do. In terms of, I mean, of course, you want to pay your team well, so the salaries are good.
Yeah.
We don't really have work hours. We expect you to be available during certain times, but most of the freedom is yours as long as you're communicating clearly. Communication is the main thing. Nobody screams at anyone, nobody scolds anyone, nobody argues. This is not happening at all. And I'm saying this because you said about respect and simple things, right? Like we, if we are giving feedback, we have a very specific way of giving feedback, and people have seen that with me because if a client says something to me, there's a way I've been responding. Everyone's on that client group as well.
Right.
There's a way I respond where I'm not getting mad at the client, I'm not reacting, I'm not lashing out
Or taking offense.
or taking
maybe.
offense,
Yeah.
and I'm just like diffusing the situation. And on the next team call, they're like, what happened there? Because it didn't come up again. So they are also learning from the way I'm doing. And that is
Right.
why when I am respecting them, and when none of my clients can ever say anything to my team, every like on every onboarding call, there's clear communication that if you have any concerns, like you'll be interacting with my team mostly, if you have any concerns about anything, anyone, blah blah, come to me.
Right.
Tell me. Nothing ever goes to my team. And this happens, of course.
Yeah, it
Clients
does.
can have
It
concerns.
yeah.
But there's no argument, there's no blaming, none of that. This happened, okay, what next? That's the whole idea. And I think that really helps, because you want people to not be in emotional pressures. You don't want people to be stressed out in that way.
Yeah.
Stress is okay, of course. They have responsibilities. They are supposed to do the
deadlines,
work.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not in the way that they feel closed off. I don't want that.
Yeah.
So these are a few things, and I'm actually really happy with how I've built it out, because even I've learned this along the way, and it's
Yeah.
been really helpful.
Yeah, and I'm sure there would have been a lot of, I think, learnings along the way, like you said, because the best part that I kind of that I liked and appreciated was that you said on the first client call, when you're onboarding the client, it's very clearly communicated, because when communication is blurry, I think is when most things in all aspects
Yeah.
of life, um, fall out for the worse. And I feel that, like you said, when people know this is what they can expect and this is the clear line of action that they can take, it's also very simple and easy for them to know what they have to do next.
Yes.
Instead of it going down the other way, where you don't want, like you said, your team to be the one who is in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think it's also looking out for them in a way. And that's what leadership is about, right? Because I think that's when you're able to build that culture more than anything else. And the bond, because while you're working professionally, there has to be a bond that exists again, and that trust to be there within the team for the team to also grow together. So I think I really like that. And, since we've spoken so much about your freelancing journey to now being an agency owner, we spoke a lot about obviously your initial motivations and learnings, etc., and how people could pursue this as a career. What intrigues me the most about your journey, Shreya, is the fact that you didn't just stop at, let's say, creating great pieces and writing things well and then scaling it up to an agency and just stopping there. Because, I mean, you could have very well done that, right? Things were going very well. You were creating content on LinkedIn. You started on LinkedIn for sure. Started getting noticed, and you didn't stop there again. You started creating content on Instagram, and then you got active on Twitter as well. And then there's a great distribution across all platforms. What I'm trying to get to is, how does your presence on various social media platforms today help you as an agency owner? Not just business wise, in general. Again, the perceived value fact, your positioning. How do people look at you differently? And do you think it would have been different if these three platforms were maybe one, was just one, or maybe you just stuck to LinkedIn and did not go to Instagram or Twitter? How would it change things?
So Instagram and Twitter become a different business for me, because they are more about education. So they are more closely related to what we're doing here, like helping people understand what freelancing is, find their first client, etc.
Yeah.
So that is linked. That's Instagram and Twitter for me. LinkedIn is more of lead gen. So I think what would have been different is that if I had stuck to LinkedIn, I would have been very focused on agency, services, team building, etc., not on the education side of things. That's the major difference that would have existed. And of course, with Instagram and Twitter, because I have this platform where I'm speaking, the thing with LinkedIn is it's mostly text-based.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's personalities doesn't come through either. Or it's difficult to believe that someone wrote that and it was them.
Correct.
It's difficult to accept that, because a lot of people like my content. But once I got on Instagram, once I did my first few podcasts, people were like, Shreya, this is how you are. This is you. Like, I can see the way you write and I can see the way you speak, and
The
it
alignment,
fits. It fits.
Yeah.
This is exactly who you are. And people were surprised by the way I speak. People were surprised that I like doing this, that I'm confident, that I am able to explain things. And they're surprised that I don't have to think, basically. Like, you asked me about the travel blog thing and I gave you how to expand the business, basically.
Yeah.
And all of that doesn't come through when you're writing something. It comes through when you're talking.
Yeah.
It even doesn't come through when you're creating reels. It comes through when you're having conversations.
Yeah.
Because like even if you have a list of questions that you may have discussed before or anything, which we didn't, but even if you have that, like having that sort of articulation is not something it's not easy to do, like on
I'm
camera.
definitely not asking you the
So-
questions that I had decided I would be asking you. That's all I can tell you. I think I've gone all over the place and the order is definitely different. But I think that's the beauty of conversations, like you said,
Yes.
right? It has to flow naturally and it has to make sense in that moment. And that's when you're able to actually give legit and true information that's credible. And that's when people think the math is adding up.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And it fits then.
Yes.
But it's interesting to also understand, like you told me that it was almost 5 years ago you wrote your first LinkedIn post.
Yes.
What was your intention back then to be on LinkedIn? And obviously it's changed today and you use it as a lead gen platform. You just
Yeah.
mentioned that. How do you think so first is, it's a two-part question. First is, what was your intention to get active on LinkedIn back then?
Yeah.
Second is, since you've seen the platform evolve, it's become very different today. How do you think it has changed from 5 years ago to today, LinkedIn as a platform?
Right. Okay. The reason I started with LinkedIn was, I mean, I had a LinkedIn profile because I got into internships. And so my granddad said that, like, you should have a LinkedIn profile.
Your granddad told you to be on LinkedIn.
Because
Amazing.
he said you should have a LinkedIn profile. And everyone has it, like this is how we are also hiring, etc. So you have to have a LinkedIn profile. So I just had it for my internship and I updated it. That's it.
Got it.
Never posted content. And the reason I posted that first post was because Jeff was the CEO of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I met him, so might as well post it on LinkedIn, because
Yeah.
otherwise it would have been just another, like, it was a very long journalistic thing in my notes, basically. So I thought, okay, just post it. And I posted it, and that's it. Nothing to do, nothing to think about, because I had never posted anything on LinkedIn before. I had no idea. And at that time, LinkedIn was only like a job search platform. It wasn't content creation.
It wasn't
or
the way
anything.
it is today.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close to it. And today, like 5 years later, I think LinkedIn had a very good phase as well, where everyone was creating like really high value content.
Yeah.
Now it's getting a bit messy,
It is.
which is also good in some way because it's very easy to find good creators.
Good creators. Yeah, that's true.
It's easier to sift through because you can see through people who are just like resharing viral posts or resharing, like writing good posts, but if they're using selfies, and you know that, okay, what are you doing? Like there's something really off about your
yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
So all these things like really help you identify, okay, who's the right person. And obviously now LinkedIn is a content creation platform. It's a content first platform.
Yeah.
They added the creator mode. They added so many different features like your PDFs, and you
Yeah.
can add long form videos now, etc.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so many
So
things
many
that have
things.
changed. And I think the major thing is that people are starting to use this as a lead gen format, as a place to sell,
Yeah.
compared to how they were using it before as a place to find jobs and as a place to like get opportunities in that sense. Now people are taking control and they're using it as a way to like make sales for
Yeah.
their own thing.
Correct.
So that's what's different.
Yeah. No, I think I have kind of observed that as well, although I haven't been there for as long as you have. I think it's been about 3.5 years,
Okay.
probably. And I think one thing that I noticed beyond the things that you mentioned, obviously, all of them are true. I also feel that LinkedIn also started acknowledging the fact that a lot of people who want to create content would also need motivation to create content.
Yes.
Which, so I'm not sure what kind of a role did LinkedIn have in it, because logically it does not add up that LinkedIn obviously would not have reached out to brands and said that come and create opportunities for them. But what I've seen is probably 4 years ago, if you would come onto the platform, the kind of brands, there were no brands. I mean, brands wouldn't, even today, it's very difficult for a brand to put trust in a LinkedIn creator and do a campaign, influencer marketing
Right.
campaign per se with them, as opposed to a YouTuber or somebody on Instagram.
Right.
Because it just comes more naturally. It's something that's just understood better, probably. And I also feel that because of the same reason, a lot of people don't know of the different avenues that exist to monetize on LinkedIn.
Right.
And a lot of creators also don't understand how to charge because of that, when it at least comes to the influencer marketing perspective. But I think I've seen that shift a lot as well over the couple of years.
Right.
Yeah. And I think with that, what I want to ask you next, Shreya, is when you talk about content creation, um, like you said, that you use Instagram and Twitter for specific purposes, and you probably, if not have something different to achieve, but you are probably obviously having a very different persona there because the end goal to be met is different. Like you said, it's for education purposes.
Yeah.
Here, you're more of an agency owner, and you're just here to get your sales. You want your leads there, get the
Yeah.
cash rolling in, and you're set.
Yeah.
So, how does one identify what objective to set with which platform? I'll tell you why I'm asking this. When you answered this, I just somehow instantly thought in my head, but she could have also educated people on LinkedIn, right? Because freelancers and aspiring agency owners are there on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
Why did she do that? That was my question. And that's why I'm asking
Yeah.
you this. How does one pick and understand what to map where in terms of the platforms if they are choosing? Because if somebody wants to leverage distribution channels, because these are distribution channels for your business as an
Yeah.
agency owner, how do you pick what to associate a platform with?
It's where you're driving what particular result from, essentially. So for me, when I started Instagram, I knew that this is a space to teach. That's it. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
But when I was on LinkedIn for 2 years before I got on any other platform. So
Right.
only LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So when I was on LinkedIn, I was getting leads. That was my number one and the only lead source. But I also started talking about freelancing, and that was attracting freelancers. So I had one platform that was kind of like doing both. And it was totally fine until then. But then I realized that no, this is mixing up too much. And my leads are confused, and I'm not getting, my inbox is all mixed up, and I'm not getting only the result that I want from this. And I realized that Instagram is a much better place for me to, I could have decided to either keep my freelancing stuff here or lead gen here.
Right.
Lead gen was the number one thing that was working for me on LinkedIn. So obviously it was a no-brainer. Lead gen sticks LinkedIn, and everything else moves on to the other platforms. So, and this was quite recent actually. Even for the longest time on LinkedIn, I was sharing both content styles
correct.
mix. But it's only recently that I said like, no, absolutely not. It has to be different. And my goals also changed a lot actually, because for the longest time I was looking at my follow account on LinkedIn. I was looking at my follow account on Instagram. After a point, especially on LinkedIn, I just stopped. Like, I really don't care how many followers I have. And I want to use it as a lead gen source. And to get more leads, you don't need more followers. You don't need that.
Yeah.
So when I realized that this is not important and I don't need to seek like virality, I don't need to seek like a lot of engagement. What I need is to be seen by the right people if I'm looking for inbound leads.
Right.
And if I want to do that, then I just have to create like highly specific content. That's it. So that's what I'm doing on LinkedIn. And then Instagram, of course, it's video heavy. I can share stories. I can be like, I can share more casual stuff.
Yeah.
I have my Instagram lives that I used to do a lot of. I used to do
them.
3 a week for like 6-7 months or so.
Yeah.
And you also have, of course, your links that you can share. You have your DMs, which are super friendly to use.
Yeah.
Q&As, all of these things. So there's a lot of option that Instagram offered me that was more like a community and more friendly for one-on-one conversations, as opposed to having like some conversations on LinkedIn.
Right.
So this was my criteria, but it's like whatever is getting you the best results, go for that. So if LinkedIn is getting you leads, unless you want to change it, like keep it that way. And if Instagram is getting you leads, for example, then don't forcefully change it, but just make the most of it, because things have their shelf life. So make the most
They
of it
do.
while they do.
True. No, I think each to its own, because you don't know what's going to work for you. And whatever is working for you, like you said, you have to kind of strategize that way. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I think so far I've had a great time, kind of understanding so much about your journey at length, Shreya. But before we move to the rapid fire round, which is like a small segment I keep towards the end, it's very spontaneous and very fun and free flowing. There are, these 2 last things that I want to ask you, which is extremely important, probably may sound philosophical, but I love asking these 2 questions to all my guests, and I always do.
Okay.
So I think I've never gotten the same answer for this question from anybody, at least so far. And I think I've asked this to about 15 plus people.
Okay.
It's interesting to always have a different answer. And it's the most cliche question anybody can ask you.
Yeah.
But everybody answers it differently because of the way I ask the question. So let me try
Right.
again.
Okay.
So when you talk about not getting what you've set your eye on, which is termed as failure a lot of times, versus when you've decided you want to do something and you get it. Now you attribute that to luck, hard work, a mix of both, whatever it is. There are multiple instances when people feel like, okay, I've achieved this and I'm successful. There are times you feel like you're a failure. And what I want to understand is today, if you reflect back on your entire journey, as of today, how does Shreya Patar define success for her? Right? What does it mean to you at this moment?
I actually don't know because this line of, oh, this is a success has really blurred out.
Yeah.
There are very few things and few experiences that I still have where I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did this. And it's just because of the way things are, right? So I mean, if you think of closing a client, is closing a client a success? I don't know, because this is a regular thing and I won't have a business if this success is not done. So is it a success or is it something I have to do, something that should happen? So I think it's very difficult for me to say, oh, what is success? I think I've also kind of changed that whole success failure thing, and I've just accepted that everything's life and you will have ups and downs and you will have both together.
Right.
Something will be doing really, really well and something will be like totally in pain. And you have to take care of both these things somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just the moments where like I can look at something and I can sit back for a minute and be like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And that could be just maybe one kickboxing class where I could just go through the whole 60 minutes without being once like, okay, I need to sit down, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
For me, that is like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And I will like start tearing up.
Yeah.
So I think there's so many different things, and I've stopped associating it with numbers. I've stopped associating it with timelines.
Yeah.
Stopped associating it even with a particular thing. Like, it's not just career. I used to be very much into, okay, revenue or which client, etc. Now I've stopped all of that, and it's just enjoy the journey a little bit and just stop and be like, wow, I can't believe I did that. So that kind of stuff.
That's amazing. I think it's a unique answer again. So I've got a different answer. I'm really happy. So probably maybe the way I'm asking the question, or everybody has a different answer. But a lot of times there are commonalities. But it's so, I think, endearing to see that everybody perceives the word success in itself so differently. And like you said, for you to just sit back for a moment and be like, yeah, I did this.
Yeah.
It's just so internal and so personal to you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it may not be a very big thing for somebody else, but I mean, that's why it is your success and your
Yeah.
personal win. So thank you so much for sharing that, Shreya. And with that, one last question, which is related to money, but I feel that money is a great motivator. And I always say this, that while it is not the ultimate thing and the goal for which probably people should be working, for and on things for, but ultimately, I mean, a lot of the things that you want to get to and achieve are driven by it.
Yeah.
So today, I want to understand that when money is coming in from multiple sources, right? You have digital products, you have your agency, you're creating content, etc. How do you look at managing your money? I want to understand personally, what's your mindset with respect to money, and how do you look at money management today?
I think I had this idea of saving a lot.
Yeah.
And then I just dropped it because I realized that money only works for you if you use it. And in a lot of ways, like at this stage and for this 1 year, it's all about like reinvesting into my own business, because I did a lot of investments last year which didn't work out for me, and I was trying to get help or trying to get something done. And I think it just hit me after a point that why am I just not putting this into my own business? Because my own business is the one that I have the most control over.
Correct.
This I know I have, like the returns that it can generate, I have more belief in this. It may not work out totally. It's always a risk, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think it just went into a very much like everything that's happening now is like getting a better team, getting like having to do these podcasts or like setting these up, working with better people, traveling to meet clients, etc. So a lot of these different investments that are required. And I think those are a few things. And of course, I have some personal financial goals, etc. So just kind of working on that along with it.
Amazing. That's interesting. I think I've had a great time, but we're not letting you go before the rapid fire.
Sure.
So I think with that, we're going to segue into it. And I'm going to start with the first question if you're ready. But
Sure.
I want the answers to be very spontaneous. It can be a word or it can be a line,
Okay.
but not longer than that.
Okay.
And it has to be the first thought that comes to your mind, right?
If you manage to do this in this way, you'd be the first person, because I've done a lot of rapid fire, but they're always like, wait, explain that. So
No,
let's see.
I don't want you to explain it.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. So first question for you, Shreya, is that right now, as of now, what is most important for you between money, reputation, and fame?
Fame.
Can you explain it in a line? Why? Just in a line.
Just because I like doing these podcasts and I want to reach more people.
Amazing. That's amazing. Okay. My second question for you is, what is the silliest financial mistake that you've made till date?
I got too excited about working with someone,
Okay.
and because of that, I lost the client. So
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's an interesting one. Okay. My third question to you is, if you could have like a dinner conversation with any three people on the planet, who would they be and why?
wow. I don't have a specific list right now because I've met so many people in Dubai.
I'm sure.
And-
Someone you've not met. Three people you've not met and you aspire to probably have a dinner with someday.
Okay, there's two people that
Okay.
who are my mentors
Yeah.
and my really good friends.
Yeah.
So one is Jose Rosado,
Okay.
and second is Alexander Cortez. Like, I would love to sit with them and just talk. Yeah.
What an amazing table. I'd love to be around that table or maybe a fly on
You
the
can be
wall.
the third person then. I can have dinner with you.
Done. Perfect. The next question I have for you, Shreya, is that who is the one person that you really look up to in terms of the fact that whenever there is anything where you feel like you're stuck or you don't know what to do, there's a roadblock, who's the first person that you reach out to for any kind of advice or
My parents.
your parents?
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. And my last question for your rapid fire is that what is the one piece of advice that you'd like to give to aspiring agency owners, and that one thing that you've stuck by and you feel is the most important to have not a successful but a fulfilling career as an agency owner?
Have expectations, but don't be like overly obsessed with them as if life's falling apart if you don't achieve them.
That's profound.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It is very profound. Now that I reflect back on what you just said, yeah, I think that's wonderful. With that, it has truly been, I think, extremely insightful for me to get to know so much more about you, Shreya. It's not like I'm conversing with you for the first time, but it's always, such a great experience to know that you've only evolved into, I would say, probably a person who's just, killing it even the more, doing better. And it's so amazing to know that somebody has been able to establish themselves in a completely different country altogether and still, being able to, let's say, give back in whatever way you can. Because I really admire the fact that you've been able to, like you said, educate people as much as you can while creating a sustainable business for yourself. And I hope that everybody who tunes into this video is able to take back a lot of value and understand what it really takes to do something similar to Shreya and tread a similar path. We will be linking all of Shreya's socials in the description, so do check them out. And thank you so much, Shreya, again for being on the Dharya Decodes podcast. I hope you had a great time.
I did. Thank you so much, Tharya.
My pleasure.
Thank
you. With that, I'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Dharya Decodes channel. Thank you.